Welcome to Equity, Strategy and Prosperity. Powered by equity, driven by strategy and focused on prosperity. Today is an exciting day because we have with us someone who's passionate about their role in the property investment market. I'd love you to introduce you to the principal of 28th Street Agency, Kerryn Brownson.
Hi, thanks, Peter.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure indeed. You're the very, very first on the podcast.
I know. I feel actually a bit privileged, to be honest. So
it's great to have you because we've obviously worked together a little bit, and we both have a shared passion in terms of giving back to charity, which is something that I think is fantastic. So tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got into the buyer's agency business.
So as obviously a buyer's agent, I'm a borderless investor. So we help people buy property all over Australia, and we also do own occupiers as well. So we do investments and own occupiers and self-managed super fund investing as well. I got into property because I've built and flipped and done all my own property in the past, but I really wanted to learn how to invest in property, and it sort of took me down to a buyer's agent course, and then I got my real estate license, and I sort of loved it so much that I thought, well, this is what I would like to do for a living. And I think that it's great to even the playing field between a real estate agent and the buyer, because the real estate agents, they train once a week for a couple of hours on negotiations, and the everyday person doesn't have that skilled negotiation training. And being able to even the playing field out there for buyers is key, I think. So
I can't agree more. That's the whole basis to equity, strategy, prosperity, is getting people to understand what they can do, finding the best tools, the best ways through. And one of those things is, from my perspective, when people get to the point of looking for a property, they don't do that all the time. And so having a trained professional, you have a trained professional with everything you do. So it makes sense.
Yeah, especially when it's one of the biggest purchases of your life. It's kind of like going to court unrepresented. So, you're negotiating, you're trying to battle against someone that's skilled and does that for a job every day. And if you don't know, some people don't know what a community title is. Some people don't know how to place an offer. Some people don't know what special conditions to put on an offer. So, it's much better having a professional on your side, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly makes sense to me. And it's something that's relatively new in the Adelaide market necessarily.
Yeah. In the Eastern Seaboards, I think everyone just uses a buyer's agent because that's what they're used to. But it's becoming, a lot more prevalent here now. So
yeah, I certainly see it in my role, where a couple of years ago people were going, well, why do I need a buyer's agent? Because they were largely unknowing of what you do and how you do it. In just the same way as people are unsure about how much they can borrow, what's the best option for them. It's really then the property. And of course, there's so many different variants of property scenarios that you can get involved with. So having someone on your side batting for you, I think is really powerful.
Yeah. And it takes the average person 9 months to find a property.
Does it?
Yep, the average person is 9 months. So there's people that are longer than that, and there's people that are shorter than that. But, we take that time frame down to 6 to 8 weeks. So if, we're buying in today's market, not in 9 months' time, prices market, and, we're making sure that we're getting them a good deal, and we get access to off-market properties and properties that they wouldn't actually see if it wasn't for our relationships with agents. Yeah.
So off-market properties, a lot of people wouldn't know what that term means. So
it's either off-market or pre-market. So sometimes the house might be rented and it doesn't present well. So the agent will sell it off-market, so they won't advertise it on realestate.com or Domain. So they'll just send it out to a select few people or a select group of people. That's one of the reasons people don't want to pay for marketing, or they don't want 100 people coming through their house every weekend, and they don't want to have to stage it or do anything like that. So sometimes properties come on and they're sold off market before anyone knows that they're for sale.
So the real estate agent will effectively advertise it to buyers agents, who have then got a clientele, which then go and are able to access that property well before.
Yep, exactly. I mean, I get in sometimes before they've even, they might be putting it on the market in 2 weeks, and I'll have agents ring me up and say, Kerryn, have you got anyone for this? And as they're maybe starting the photos, I'm in there buying it already. So
Okay.
yeah.
That's great for them, but it's also great for the purchaser. That's the whole thing, because there's not that other cost structures built in, that delay that's built in,
They don't have to
etc.
go through the opens. They don't have people rummaging through the house. It's just me in and out.
Yeah,
Purchased, sold. Yeah.
It certainly is. I know with a lot of people, they struggle to find property, and I'm happily sending them property reports, but they're going through this process, and it can become such a struggle.
Yeah.
So off market is something that is totally different. Most people will go to one of the websites, realestate.com or whatever. In the old days, it used to be the newspaper, and you grab the newspaper on Saturday mornings and start circling and going for a drive.
I remember those days. We're showing our age now, Peter.
I am.
I said we are.
Yeah, so I mean, at this day and age, you can get access to that information. But then from my perspective, it's really interesting, because I have a lot of feedback from my clients that say it's going to auction. And that's really, not only is that a challenging thing for them to go to an auction, again,
I love a good auction.
I'm sure you do.
It's one of my favourite things to do. You can also, even if it's going to negotiate auction, you can also approach the agent and see if they will negotiate and accept offers prior to auction. So always ask the question, because sometimes, and more often than not, they'll accept an offer. So
there we go. There's always tips in talking to a professional. always. But people get phased about it. Most importantly, I make sure they go through the due diligence once they get to contract, of all the things they need to do, show the conveyancer their contract, etc. So we do as much as we can. But that's after people have bought, and it's really that intervening place between they've got the finance and getting the contract. And that's, I guess, where your sweet spot is in terms of being able to operate for them.
Yeah, I mean, we do so much due diligence. We have, lists, there's probably about 15 different items, and we're checking, is it under a flight path, the heat map, the noise level of the property. So we have noise maps, flood zones, fire zones, heritage listed, walk score, how far is it to closest shops, how far is it CBD, tranquil score, HIP score. There's so many different due diligence items. It's not just, that looks good sort of thing. There's a lot to it. Planning reports, it goes on.
So tranquil scores and HIP scores?
Yeah. So how tranquil is a suburb, how HIP is a suburb, like.
How HIP? Tell me.
Oh, it's just in one of our programs that every property has a HIP score. So it's
not a HIP.
So like a trendy.
That's what I thought it was.
HIP. So has it got local cafes? What's the type of do people hang out there? Is it hip and happening kind of thing? So a safety score. There's all sorts of stuff. So and then we even look on the street in the map, and we can tell in that little area who's a renter, who's an owner, when the last time they sold it, how much they sold it for, how much it's rented for, is there any public housing in the area, how far away is it. Like, there's so much that we look into.
Okay. And your focus is just Adelaide, or it's much broader than that?
No, so we're borderless. So we go Australia-wide. So I'm currently sourcing property in Queensland, Victoria, New South Wales and South Australia at the moment for clients. Okay.
And they're the clients with different...
And Mount Gambier. Yeah.
And Mount Gambier.
Two in Mount Gambier.
We have to put Mount Gambier into
it. South Australia, I guess, but it is, of course. But
most people forget Tasmania, but you're not. You're not forgetting Mount Gambier.
Well, Tasmania is actually coming up as a good hotspot.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Well, there we go. Why is that? Tell me.
Well, I meet once a month with Terry Ryder. He's Australia's foremost property hotspotting expert, and he was just talking about Launceston and Hobart really getting some legs at the moment, and he said that it's going to stay. So it's a good time to invest there at the moment. But Melbourne's outperforming it. Victoria's outperforming everything at the moment. So
okay.
That's a good hot tip for you.
Is that that's what you're looking for, no doubt, when you're talking to clients who are looking for equity growth, I presume, and are not worried about the location? I mean, because there's a chap recently, one of my lovely customers, but he wanted to buy in Ingle Farm, and there's nothing wrong with that, but he was putting a fence around the opportunity. He didn't want to go broader. He had his reasons for it. But I guess the broader you go, the greater the opportunity.
Well, most people want to buy in their backyard because they want to be able to drive past it. They know it's safe, and that is just completely the wrong thing to do.
Okay.
So, have you heard of a property clock?
No.
So every property goes around in a cycle. So there's a 12 o'clock is the peak of the market, 3 o'clock's the declining market, 6 o'clock is the bottom of the market, and 9 o'clock's the rising market. So property everywhere in Australia is sitting somewhere different on that clock.
Okay,
so
interesting.
Adelaide's sitting at 9, 10 o'clock. So it's only got that far to go to get to the peak of the market before it sort of stagnates. Melbourne's sitting at 7 o'clock. It's just come from 6 o'clock. So it's at the bottom of the market and it's at 7 o'clock now. So it's starting to recover. So you've got all of that way to get all of that, profit and capital growth. So investing at the moment would be a much better idea to invest in Melbourne because you're going to get all of that capital growth into Adelaide. But then if you wanted to invest in Adelaide, say you wanted to get equity out quickly in 1 to 2 years, Adelaide or Queensland, which are sitting at 9 or 10 o'clock, would be, a good option because because it's moving faster, the equity is growing faster because it's at that top of the market stage. So it depends when you want to get equity out again, how long you want to hold for, and your budget. And then we sort of take those search parameters and then we search 105 data points throughout Australia. So we're looking at population growth, infrastructure spend, days on market, vacancy rates. There's 105 different points. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not just about what I think, it's about what the data tells us. And so we actually look at 3 different data sets to get a holistic view because sometimes the data sets are different between each data set. So we sort of take O3 and then we're talking to people on the ground and finding out what the market's doing and how it's going and all of that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of research behind where to buy. It's not just, I think Ingle Farm's great. Yeah.
Got to put a rider in there. No offense to people in Eagle Farm at all. It's just that struck me because...
And I mean, I could look at the report and have a look and see how it's going to perform because in our suburb reports we can tell, but it's buying where you think is not a good idea. It's doing the research and the data and finding where that property is sitting on that clock and that suburb on that clock and seeing how it will improve, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's what this is all about.
It's timing the market.
Yeah, that's fascinating because you see, I track price changes, and of course Adelaide's had this amazing growth.
Yes.
Almost double in 6 years. It's quite incredible.
Yeah.
And Melbourne hasn't. So now Melbourne's obviously coming through that cycle of dropping down.
6 months ago, Melbourne was a declining market. Do you know what I mean?
Now it's starting to move.
Now it's starting to move up.
Yeah, because Adelaide was just literally going up like that, quite amazingly.
Yeah, even the end of last year, I reckon it's going up 20 grand a month.
Yeah, that's just that's just crazy, and it creates challenges, and that's ultimately where the philosophy behind equity strategy prosperity is. Because from my perspective, what I want to do is be able to have people understand about their equity and what it is and how they can use it, because it's the key. And then we go through that process whereby we understand the borrowing capacity, both people's standard borrowing capacity, but also their self-managed super fund capacity. And that's important. I know before I was a broker, one of Adelaide's leading brokers refinanced me, and I was in the higher ed sector. And fortunately, there was some great superannuation there. And he asked me how much super I had. And I remember he wrote it down and said, "Oh, that's great, Peter." But that's it. He
didn't do anything with it.
He didn't do anything with it.
Yeah. I ask that question to every single client.
And I do too.
Yeah. How much super do you have?
It's so important. People get phased by the term, but it's looking at both. So what we're building is a total picture of your finances. And then we put the pre-approvals in place. Now that's the real key, and you can probably talk to it, but pre-approvals are great for your market power. So you're optimizing your market power.
Yeah.
And then that's where the strategy comes in. And that's the thing I see. I talked in my previous podcast about a chap who bought a property. We did his numbers, and that was on, I think, the Thursday or the Friday. And I got a phone call on the Monday. "Pete, I've got a property." "Oh, that's great." And he told me, and he made 3% in 6 months. He was insanely happy. On the same day that he settled, one of my clients who'd done a lot of work ended up going north of Adelaide, paid a third less but made 2.5 times more, made $75,000 on $610,000
Yeah.
simply by doing his homework. Now, both people are happy, but would you rather have 2.5 times more for 50% less so you can go again? That's really the nub of this. And that's why it's important to be talking to experts like yourself.
Yeah, and and the prices have gone up so much in Adelaide that a lot of people can't even afford investment property here now.
Yeah.
Like 800,000 is not buying you much. You know, a real estate agent said to me, Kerryn, I sold a property the other day for 700,000 with a tree coming out the roof. Like, do you know what I mean? So,
Free
and
tree,
then
yeah.
you know, I can buy a townhouse in Victoria, 30 k's from the city, CBD, for 550,000. So, do you know what I mean? Like, even there's better properties and better opportunities elsewhere. So you've just got to do the research.
So you would rather the holistic view than perhaps setting on a particular state or even a suburb?
Yeah, and I let the data talk. It's not my views. It's, you know, we do a lot of research. So.
And it's forever moving and changing.
Yeah, exactly.
So do you have preferences around established or new, or is that location dependent?
Definitely established.
And why is that?
I think that if you're buying in one of those house and land package estates that, you know, everyone's buying at the same time, everyone's building at the same time, then everyone's going to be looking for a tenant at the same time. And then everyone's going to be trying to sell, you know, after 7 years at the same time. And then they're still building and putting new properties on. So you're competing with the new builds and you're trying to get the same price as the new builds. And they're going, well, why would I buy your house when I can get a new one? And I just don't think it's a great investment. So, but if you want to live in an own occupy there and you don't really want to sell, that's your one and done kind of thing. But as an investment strategy, I definitely go. And then, you know, they're on smaller blocks as well. So as an investment strategy, I would definitely buy an existing dwelling.
There we go. That's really interesting. I think that's the beauty of this, because there's so much information out there, and people, I think, get caught up in who do I listen to, where do I go, because there's a whole range of things. And from my point of view, the strategy is about understanding what people are comfortable with and then finding the right property expert for them. Yes. And there are a lot of people out doing that, but once you're in the industry and you start to work with people, you start to look at their business practices and the reviews from the customers you've referred to them, etc. That's why it's important to be talking to people like you who've got the runs on the board and are doing that, because it's all about, once we've got that structure set up, everybody knows what they're able to do, we've got our pre-approvals in place, then that strategy becomes all important. Yes, it's powered by equity, but it's the strategy at the end of the day 100%. That turns into prosperity.
100%. And what you touched on before about getting that pre-approval in place, that is key, because it helps with negotiation. No agent's going to take, if you say you're negotiating with a property that's on market and there's 5 offers or 20 offers or however many offers there is at the moment, if you you know, you don't have your finance in place, you're just going to be, sorry, you're out of the pile. Like, you're not going to be hit.
Sure.
You need your finance in place. You need to have that pre-approval. And so you can do, if you have to do subject to finance, you can do it the shortest amount of finance time, you know, subject to finance 7 days or 14 days, because it's only a bank vow that you need then to get it done.
Correct. So, you'd make a good mortgage broker.
Well...
No, it's important, because what it does is it gives people confidence. They know what they can do, the surety, because it's not necessarily a straightforward process, and neither is equity. People don't understand how it works and what the benefits are, and that transfers into the borrowing capacity. Yeah,
and I can't do my research unless I know how much you can borrow. So
true.
Because you know, it takes a long time to do the research, and if I'm researching on the wrong figure and the wrong amount, it changes the result totally. So I'd have to start over again. Yeah.
So would you? What do you see as the classic pitfalls in the scenario? People have come to you and said, "I've been doing X for so long, I can't find a property. Can you help me?" What's the sort of things that?
Well, I ask why they've had it, you know, have they put offers on any houses? Are they seeing houses within their price range? Are they being priced out of the market? So I try and sort of ascertain what's been going wrong first. Yeah. You know, I had a client that came to me and they were looking for 5 years before COVID, and Yeah, he just couldn't get
in
it
the
across.
5 years prior for that period of time.
And he just couldn't get it across the line. He just could not get a
Wow.
bid across the line in 5 years. And he wasn't fussy. He was a builder, so he was looking for something that he could renovate. Do you know what I mean? Like, he was looking for a fix me up era, and I got him a property within 5 days. Yeah. So
There we go.
yeah. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
just, people stumble for all different types of reasons.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Fascinating. Yeah, I really think that. Well, I see the delay and the frustration, and in moving markets, especially this one in Adelaide, where young people, especially first-time buyers, are trying to get in. It does become challenging for them.
Yeah, it really
But we're
does.
talking about people with equity that want to grow their prosperity. So it's about being clear about what that is, and then taking advantage of it, and spending as little for as much return as possible. So
100%.
yeah. So yield becomes important. Are places like Melbourne great for yield at the moment? Or?
Probably 3.5% to 4%. I actually found a house yesterday that was a 5% yield in Melbourne.
Okay.
So it just varies on the property, but capital growth is the main driver and the main goal. So getting an extra $10 a week rent when you can get an extra couple of $100,000, it just is negligible. So it's always look for a capital growth rather than a yield. I mean, obviously you've got to be able to service the loan.
Sure. Yep.
But capital growth is the driver for investments.
Okay.
You can always add value for yield. So, sometimes there's you can put a granny flat on the back and rent that out and get double income. Or do you know what I mean? Like, there's ways to manufacture value and yield. So yeah.
Interesting.
Mm.
Yeah. Once I started to understand a little bit more about what you do, it fascinated me, and that's why you first came off the rank, because this is important information. There's a lot of people listening to this today that are going, "Hey, I've got to stop this and rewind it, or listen to that again, because what was she saying? And so a lot of people simply only do this once or twice. Some people a couple more times than that in their life. So it's about being as prepared as possible for just the smallest investment, not in your life. It's the biggest thing you'll ever do.
100%. And that's why I always ask, is it like a one only, or are we building a portfolio? Because one of my search parameters is like, when do you want to get equity out? Is it 1 to 2 years? Is it 3 years? Is it 4 years? And that will depend on where we buy in Australia to how soon they want to get that equity out to go again. So
yeah, again, it comes back down to strategy.
Strategy is key.
Yeah, I think so.
And
all
I
the way
think
through.
having a team of professionals around you that know what they're doing is also key. So having a great mortgage broker, a great conveyancer, obviously a buyer's agent, all of those kind of things is very, very much key. If you don't have, even a good property manager. So if you don't have those key trades or those key services around you, it can be, that know what they're doing, it can be hard.
Yeah, it is, and it helps the client so much. I mean, it's a good point you raise, because we do it here at the Finance Nest, where we've got that end-to-end system, if you will, and it's people that we trust, that we've worked with, that we know that they're working for the best interests of the client, and right the way through from your inspections. I always say, get a building inspection, get a pest inspection.
Yes.
All of these due diligence processes.
Sometimes we do a plumbing as well.
Do you?
Yeah, we put cameras down the drains if there's a lot of trees to see if the roots have brought through the drains, and just checking hot water, gas systems. We don't want the hot water system to blow up and all of that kind of stuff.
There we go.
Yeah, we do plumbing as well.
Team is all important. Team is all important.
It is.
Well, this has been interesting. There's so much to it. I'm sure people can get in touch with you at 28th Street Agency. You're based on the Parade at Norwood, I think?
Yes, yep. Yeah, we're on the Parade opposite Danny's Tie, I think. Yeah,
okay.
Just there. So
cool.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would, know the Parade at least anyway.
Yes.
Now, I always ask, even though this is the first podcast, I always ask.
I'm always going to ask.
I'm always going to ask. Yes, thank you. A saying, because for me, I'm one of those people that loves things that a one-liner that has been said to someone that's changed or changed their life or been important for them. Have you got a line of wisdom for me from a buyer's agent's perspective? I'm putting her on the spot now.
You are putting me on the spot, and I'm going to have to think about it. A line of wisdom. from my perspective and how I kind of live my life a little bit, I think never take no for an answer.
Okay.
If I send someone to a mortgage broker and they say, nope, you can't borrow, it's not no, it's just not yet. And what do we have to do to get there? So yes, I want to build a property portfolio, and if it's not right for me right now, like, how do I get there? What do I do? Like, it might not be the straight path that you're going to, but you can go, there might be just a deviant, but you're still going to get there. So I don't like to say no to anyone. I think that it's just, we'll put you on a path to get you into the right direction to make this happen. And if you're like, I can't afford to buy where I live, well, then rent vest. And rent vesting is, okay, so you rent in the area, so you want to live in Norwood, you can't afford to buy there. You rent there, and then you go and buy an investment property for $500,000 in a growing area. You build the equity up in that, maybe get another one, or you take the equity out of that and then you start buying where you live. Yeah. So there are ways. It's not always I can't. You've just got to think creatively, get a team behind you, and just think, well, how do I get to this goal? Is that okay?
That's okay. Put you on the spot. You came through well. Never say no.
Never say no. It's just a not yet, or there's just a different path to get there.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Never accept no is what I'm saying.
Never accept no.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just never accept no.
Never accept no.
Never accept no.
As an answer. Yeah.
Okay. And one final thing. Tell me a little bit about your passion. As many people know, I founded a charity called 100 for our Homeless, in which I donate $100 from every charity that every mortgage that I settle to one of 5 homeless charities here in Adelaide. I believe it's important to give back. I believe it's important for business to give back
100%.
And to improve, and especially when in the housing industry. So that's where we first connected through a shared passion. So tell me about what you do.
Okay, so I, with every house that I purchase on behalf of someone, I donate a night's stay to an unhoused woman at Kerryn House, which is Adelaide's only homeless shelter for women. I also help one woman for free at the moment. I've got my Empower Her application open, where I help give my full buyer's agent service to one lady that needs it. They're usually coming from domestic violence, or they're left with nothing and they just really need help. We also we have a done with you service as well, and we help one person for free as well. So we're actually helping someone at the moment buy a property. So we're helping a couple of people a year pro bono, and I donate obviously to Kerryn House as well.
Fantastic.
And I'm becoming B Corp. So yeah, so I'm going through my B Corp certification at the moment. So a B Corp business is a business that has the highest transparency of social, economic, we give back. So purpose and profit are equal KPIs and equally measured. So yeah.
Well done to you.
Thank you.
I think it's important to be making a difference on both sides of the ledger.
Yeah.
For those that are fortunate, but especially because of that we're able to do something for those perhaps less fortunate, those that can find their way into a property in different forms, and those that don't have that fortune at the moment, because we're not going to say no, are we?
No, we're not going to accept no.
We're going to accept no. Thank you.
Yes.
Got to be corrected. Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
For having me.
We've got through our first podcast. It's okay, I think. I think
we did well. We didn't even look at the paper.
No, we didn't. There we go. So you've been listening to Equity, Strategy, Prosperity. It's driven by strategy, and it's about your prosperity. So thank you very much, and look forward to the next one.